Sometimes it might rain, sometimes it might snow, sometimes you might cry, be sad, you know what that's shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man, shades of a man. Sometimes you might stop, sometimes you might go. You might make mistakes, but that's just how you grow. Shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man, shades of a man.
We're often on the chase. If you're chasing, right, you may be chasing somebody that you don't even know is interested in you until they're interested in you. So, rarely do I think men find somebody, say, oh my God, I like her, and then and put all their attention on somebody they like, and they don't even know if that person likes them yet. So you end up kind of going after multiple people, and then it becomes mumbo jumbo. So the best thing for a person like me is just to be total, like not isolated, but keep boundaries in place. And learning to be independent without doing relationship things, right? Because then the relationship things don't mean much. If I'm sleeping with a girl I don't even have feelings for, when I sleep with the woman I actually like, what changed? I've been sleeping with this other woman with no feelings, so now I'm sleeping, like, what is going on? It's another Shades of a Man podcast. I am your host, Joaquin, and we're in that series about loving. We already went over the L for lust, the O, the noun, not to be an opponent, the V, can't be vengeful or vengeance. And now we're going to work on that I in loving. And that I represents independence. Yeah, you got to give up a little bit of independence. It's actually Black Friday. This won't air probably till around Christmas time, but it's Black Friday. And to be honest, the last few days for myself has been maybe the most emotional time period in the last 20 years, since my grandfather passed in 2001. And I handled that with an angry heart, because I was angry at God and I was angry at the world, because the only person I felt loved me was gone. Fast forward about 24 years and I'm in an emotional state and I'm feeling it through my heart, a shattered heart at that. And it feels good to actually heal through the heart and not heal through the pain. And I just wanted to say that as we focus on independence, because this is the one area that I didn't give up much. I didn't give up enough. I shouldn't say I didn't give up much, because I gave up some things, but I didn't give up enough, in my opinion, to have a healthy relationship. So the poem that we're going to rock with this is a poem that I think kind of goes along with independence in ways. This poem I wrote is called If I Find Me. And this poem is powerful because the reality is I think I just found me at the lowest point in a long time in my life. I wouldn't say it's the lowest point in my life, but it's the point where I personally dug the deepest, right? I think I mentioned last show about that this is week 6 of my celibacy or abstaining from any kind of physical activity with any women, because I feel like that is my kryptonite. If I was Superman, that would be my kryptonite, would be the physical touch of a woman, in the respect that I crave temporary pleasure. And then the dopamine, it becomes a drug, and I just want it again. And so I was like, okay, in order for me to move forward in my life and to be the man I want to be, which is a man of integrity, I got to have self-control. And the only way for me to have self-control is to practice it now. I thought that getting married would heal my problems, but it actually did not heal it. And I spent many much of my time in the shower, on my knees in the morning, praying for help. Like I had this war in my head, and this wasn't really something that I felt comfortable discussing with my partner because we weren't on that level, or we weren't on that level because I didn't make her feel secure enough to have those discussions. So this is If I Find Me. Listen to this. This is powerful. I think it is, because I haven't, when you read your poems after a long time, that's when you can discover they're good. Because when I first write poems, I'm like, oh, this is cool. But then when I go away from it and come back, I'm like, ooh, that's not bad. So here we go. Ready? Broken glass shatters and spreads across dreams, halting at each choice, redundantly recycling failures, submitting to blank pages, reading closed books, empty affairs, leading to deserts of love. If time could freeze and life had reverse, those thorns could be lifted so the blood could escape, freeing demons, unleashing the torture. I could then live through the past, releasing the change, opening a new story different from the last. Finally, living in the present. Find a new me, contrary to the old. Humble yet bold, eager yet controlled. Find a new love. Find my soul. Find my mask and bury it. Me is not who I wanted to be, for I can't see beyond the characteristics of he, so I'll be lost if I find me. I really like that because I know I wrote that like 15, 20 years ago, and wow, I don't think I changed much in the time I wrote that until 6 weeks ago, as far as that part. And that's why we're going to roll in and talk about independence in a relationship. Why is independence something you have to leave behind? And I'm not talking about all your independence. I'm talking about you really have to negotiate what you would like to keep. Example, if me and my boys went on like 4 boys trips a year, and now I'm in a relationship, do you think it's appropriate for me to go on 4 boys trips a year? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say maybe, just maybe one. But I don't even know if that is appropriate. And it depends on the situation. And yes, not because of anything else, but honoring the person you're with. Even if you trust them, it doesn't matter if you're trying to always go away without them. So we're going to break down independence and why independence is important. Independence is important, right? Every man, like, some men say they want an independent woman until they get one. Then they find out it's hard to have an independent woman because an independent woman doesn't depend, right? And an independent man doesn't depend. And then you try to merge and it becomes confrontational because roles need to be played in relationship. Yes, roles do need to be played in a relationship. Both people can't be the boss all the time. Both people can't be the the lead all the time. So people have to play roles. So independence. The first part of independence, I think, why it's important is because once you give up independence, I think you become vulnerable. You become vulnerable. If you're that independent label, that's rough. It's raw. It's stern. I'm independent. If you listen to a female say, "I'm an independent female," it's almost intimidating. And then try to merge that. And the same thing that goes with a man. Like, I know I'm an intimidating man because of my independence. Why do you say that? I've been single for so long. So I created these independent ways. Independent ways like in the morning, I listen to my word like my Bible verses on from YouTube in the bathroom. Now if I have somebody with me, right, that's pretty loud. So now I gotta maybe sacrifice, put a headset in, right? Then it's hard to do that in the shower or use it on my phone on low. But my shower's in my bedroom, so they could hear. That's a conversation. It really is. And by myself, as a solo man, I could do what I want in my room. I can make as much noise as I want in my room when I get up because I'm the only one there. So you need to be vulnerable. Giving them independence makes you vulnerable. Something I've struggled with, but regardless of the outcome of my last relationship, I was vulnerable, and I was very extremely vulnerable in the beginning, and that's how I actually got in this relationship because I trusted this person with how I was feeling about the person I was with previous, and I opened up, and I think that person seen where I wanted to be, right? Seen the potential, as far as love, not the potential of a provider, a protector, not that potential, right? Because that's a different potential. The potential of someone that can actually love her the way that she needs to be loved. With independent people, don't, especially men, in my opinion, don't really love in that manner. Dependency. So when you're independent, for me, I'm gonna talk for me. So my independence, where I needed to give up, and why I am abstinent or celibate now, is because the happiness, the dopamine, the attention, the dates, the going out, the sexual conversations that I would have with more than one person as you're trying to get to know people, clutter my independence. And then when when you become dependent, or you become with one person, you still have these habits of craving, because it becomes a craving. It's like coffee. Like you have coffee every day, you have coffee every day, you have coffee every day, and then all of a sudden one day you just want to stop coffee. There's like, you get a headache, like you feel it, like something's like, and it may sound like an excuse to you, but it's like a drug. Like people say that, oh, you drugs, just stop using them. You're alcoholic, just stop drinking. It sounds easy to those that don't have an issue with it, but I have an issue with that. I have an issue with lust in women. So I have to practice outside. I gotta practice now doing everything. So the independence is crucial of letting back some um to make it good. Um um yeah, I'm just right now, somebody's in the house and they so loud I could just hear them, and it drive me nuts. But that's all right. We're gonna keep this party rolling. So when you're going into a relationship, you gotta give up independence. As I keep saying that, right? Um Now, flirting is something that, how do you get to know someone without like making a move, right? And the bad part about a man is that we're often on the chase. So if you're chasing, right, you may be chasing somebody that you don't even know is interested in you until they're interested in you. So, rarely do I think men find somebody, say, oh my God, I like her, and then and put all their attention on somebody they like, and they don't even know if that person likes them yet. So you end up kind of going after multiple people, and then you don't you don't know where it stands, and this person is playing games after it, and then it becomes mumbo jumbo. So the best thing for a person like me is just to be total, like, not isolated, but keep boundaries in place, and learning to be independent without doing relationship things. right? Because then the relationship things don't mean much. If I'm sleeping with a girl I don't even have feelings for, when I sleep with the woman I actually like, what changed? Right? I've been sleeping with this other woman with no feelings, so now I'm still like there's no parallel, and that's why I believe your independence should be, if you're trying to be in a relationship, when you get to that point and you say, no, I think I want to be in a relationship, I think you should start being in a relationship with yourself right then and there. And that's what I'm doing now. Like eventually I want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be running the field no more. So I'm in a relationship with myself. I'm getting to know myself. I'm getting to know what I like about myself. And I'm getting to know all of this without intimacy. And I have female friends, and they're very aware that we're friends, and there's no like chat about if we're gonna be more than friends, or like we're just completely friends. That's like a boundary stuff. Something I actually got offended once because a friend asked me about another friend. He's like, "Oh, what's going on with you and such and such?" And I was like, "What?" I had to break them down. Listen, ain't nothing me going on with nobody. Period. And I'm offended you asked that, knowing what I'm trying to do. She goes, oh, that's why I asked. I said, well, if you know what I'm trying to do, why are you even asking that? Come on now, have some respect with my name. What I'm trying to do. I'm not out here in these streets no more trying to get these. I'm not in these streets trying to get these women in my sheets no more. As I was when I was a single man. So independence. So trust. Two independent people. How does one independent person trust another independent person? Trust is built through shared responsibility and shared roles. Like trust is shared. Like you have to do things to trust each other. And if I'm trying to be independent and I'm not trying to, how could you ever trust me? You're not going to trust me because I am trying to act like I'm independent. Independent means I don't need you. Okay. And in reality, yes, we should be with somebody that we feel doesn't need us, because if something was to happen to us, we would want them to be able to survive. But really, we want them to need, at least want us all the time. Oh, and before I get ADD, this is one of my favorite parts about cutting my hair, because I got a big head. Like, we ain't able to wear a hat. I couldn't wear a hat when I had braids because the hats wouldn't fit on my head. So like I'm so like happy to be able to throw like a hat on. Like when I have a bad hair day, I can just throw a hat on and get this look, which I couldn't get when I had dreads and braids. That was another ADD moment. But I'm back. Another part where I think is one of the most important part of giving up a little bit of independence is shared decision making. I would say this was the most difficult part of my last relationship, was shared decision making. It was so difficult. We could not come to any kind of agreement on most things. We could come to agreement on a few things, but most things did not come to an agreement with. And it was because I believe that I was trying to hold my independence and she was trying to hold her independence, and we weren't trying to give up that. And for me, it was a lot of, for me, I only speak for myself. It was a lot of fear in giving up what I knew. And I'm just gonna break you down one thing that happened. And I remember, and I felt bad. I just didn't know what to do, because I really, like, my wife was struggling, and we were like kind of struggling, but I really think she was struggling, and she just didn't know how to tell me. And I say that now only because I've been watching a lot of relationship um like videos on like communication between men and women. And I think she was communicating to me that she needs me. She doesn't feel the love from me, and she doesn't, and I didn't know how to communicate. I thought I was communicating, "Hey, I'm here," you know, and you know, we were on vacation and she started looking at this dog. And we were on vacation and she's looking at the dog, and I just wanted to have a good vacation, to be honest. And I kind of let her like flow in this idea that this dog like that she was looking at was a possibility. And she's like, I'm gonna reach out to the person. I didn't say no, I didn't say yes. I was like, oh, I didn't want to have no conflict because we was on vacation. And then after we got home, she's like, oh, I'm going to see the dog, to see, if I like the dog, if I like. And now, mind you, we got a dog, and dog's a lot of work. And, she was working a lot. I was working a lot, and things weren't getting done already. Right. So my logic was like, we don't need to add more fuel to this fire. So we are already struggling. But she wanted this dog because she wanted something to love. And she felt, I believe she felt because I got my dog around when we first met, but we weren't together. We were like dating. I don't know if we weren't dating. We were messing around, and I got Bomber, my dog. And Bomber was like my dog, right, in her mind. So she wanted to have like her dog, something she could love, right? And I didn't want another dog for a lot of reasons, but the main reason was it's too much work. I remember how much work Bomber was. And not only this is a rescue dog, it was a bully dog. So she goes and sees a dog. Then she goes and takes Bomber to see the dog. And still, in my independent ways, I ain't say nothing. Then they bring the dog to the house and she wants me to meet the dog. I don't even want to meet the dog because I don't want the dog. Now, mind you, I didn't even communicate that. Independence, right? I had to communicate that because I didn't want the dogs, right? This is wrong. I'm telling you guys right now, all this is wrong. I did all the wrong things in this situation. I was wrong, right? So then the dog comes to the house and the dog was bad, right? I'm gonna be real. The dog was bad, which made it easy. If the dog was good, I'd have been in trouble. And in all honesty, if the dog was good, she might have got the dog because I couldn't have made any kind of excuse for the dog, right? But there was some food on the table, right? And the dog jumped up on the counter and tried to get what was on the counter. And that was enough for me to be like, oh, heck no. As big as dog is, and just the things from like the dog wasn't like my dog, I can let outside anytime and the dog ain't going nowhere. We live in like an area where, it's very open, not a lot of traffic. So we just let the dog out, and this dog you have to take on a leash. And I was selfish, right? Because I was like, man, Bomber, if I'm getting ready for the morning, I got a long day, and I can't walk Bomber, I can let him out for 10 minutes, and he can go run around the yard and come back in. If I got this dog and it's my responsibility in the morning, I got to put the dog on the leash, take the dog out, walk the dog around till the dog goes to the bathroom. Oh man, I did this. This is what I did. This is how I trained my dog. I spent hours outside with the dog, to get him to the point where he is now. And I didn't want to put that in, and I didn't know if we had the time. And then I made a bully decision. I bullied my wife, and I said that she ain't getting a dog. And that's what I did. I know it was a lot of resent there. Like it came up a lot of times, and that wasn't the only time I bullied my wife in some kind of decision. And don't get me wrong, she bullied me in some decisions too, and that's why as one of the we didn't give up our independence. Is one of the reasons why we independent now. Is because we didn't get that up, and so we didn't get the dog, and it caused a lot of strife. I believe in the relationship because it wasn't handled by me the right way. Because I should have clearly stated early on that I didn't really want a dog and to stop doing that. So, yeah. One of my many learning, I don't say regrets, learning moments in my past relationships where I really am aware of my doings. So another thing is love is not golf or tennis or boxing, meaning that it's not a solo sport. It's not a solo event. It takes team work. And if you are trying to be independent, sometimes you are taking, there's no I in team, right? Independent, there's no I in team, but there is a me. Remember people that said that? I was one of those people that said that. But you really have to take it's a team game. It's a team game, and you really have to sometimes give and sometimes take. In hindsight, although it'd have been an awful decision. And here's the thing, it was a rescue dog, and I think we made the right decision. I really do think we made the right decision, although it wasn't handled the right way. But I think that dog would have been a handful for us in the coming months after we got the dog. And it was a rescue dog. So with a rescue, especially with a rescue, you don't want to get a rescue and have to put him back in a home. The dog's already traumatized from losing its home in the first place. Isolation causes misunderstanding. And this is kind of me. I did a lot of things alone. And I've always I've always felt like it was me against the world. I wanted to be different in this relationship, and I tried to be different, but the reality of it was that my wife was the same way. Like when you are a scarred individual, right? Whether you're female or male, you even though you try to say your guard is down, you're like, oh, I'm loving love, but your guard ain't really down. Where your guard is down is on the fact that you're willing to love someone, right? That's where your guard is down. You're willing to love, right? But you're not willing to actually love in the correct way. You're just willing to love. So we were guarded, and I know I was guarded, and I was isolated, and I was doing things alone. I was making decisions alone, and I was trying not to do that. Like I would, like, oh, what do you want to meal prep this week? Like there was a time we were on the same board. It was like, okay, we're gonna meal prep together on Sunday. We're gonna do this. Like we kind of had an agenda of our lives, right? And then that agenda went out the door. And once we got married, once she became a nurse, once probably she realized she didn't need me, and we got so busy in our lives. And I look back, and you could say like an independent thing when your wife works every other weekend, because that's what my wife did at the time, right? It's like, okay, the weekends that you are off is our weekends together. Like we are doing something Saturday and Sunday, and I clear my slate Saturday and Sunday. And the weekends you are on, that's when I make myself busy with things that I need to do. And I didn't do that. I just made myself busy all the time, and I didn't really take heed to. And that's the independence in me. And it suffered. Our relationship suffered in that. Also being dependent, when you lean on somebody, like if I'm leaning on her, like it creates, it builds emotional safety. So if I'm leaning on you for things, it builds like like where you feel emotionally secure. Like if I'm coming to you and say, hey, what do you think of this? Like I think, I bought a truck last, I don't know, August, September, right? And I felt like I did it by myself. And I tried to ask her like about the truck and stuff. I did talk to her about it, but it wasn't like it wasn't even like she was involved. Like, and like I remember at one point I was like, "Yo, why don't she just say to me, like, no, you're not spending $75,000 on a truck, or why don't you, like I just felt like I did it by myself, and my independence, right? My independence. Simple stuff like, I'll go get an oil change. Like, I don't think my wife knew when I got an oil change in my car, and I don't even think I knew when she got her oil changed in her car. Like, these are things that you need to kind of communicate with each other. Not that that's important. My wife went and got a whole tattoo and didn't tell me. That's when you know, like, you guys are not on different pages. She went and got a whole tattoo and just came home with it. Didn't tell me she was going to get a tattoo, nothing. Just boom, here I am. Almost like a statement. If that's not crying not only independence, but also crying that you're not emotionally stable in your situation, right? Let's see what else we got here. I brought a list down because there's a lot of them. Sharing routines, you share memories. We early on we had a lot of great memories, right? Every relationship should have great memories. Like, or like if like that we used to walk a lot together. We used to work out a lot together. We used to meal prep and prep together. We used to go shopping all the time together. And as we got busier, all those things stopped happening. But we didn't do none of that together. None of it. I would say the last year of our relationship, like I don't even remember going to the grocery store together ever. And it's kind of sad. But they create memories. Like, I actually enjoyed going to the grocery store. I actually enjoyed meal prepping. I enjoy going for walks, going hiking, sometimes just going down the street, going to get ice cream. We had this one little spot, a little like bar and grill we used to go to. We used to go there all the time, a couple times a week sometimes. And I like doing that, you know. And sometimes you stop doing the things that bring you together, especially when you're still trying to be independent. Routines, compromise. Woo! Compromise shapes the foundation. When you're able to compromise, you're able to shape the foundation. And how do you compromise? You compromise by looking at something and both honestly telling how you feel about the situation. So let's say you're compromising a house to buy. Okay. I could use my example. Okay. So we bought this house, and I say we, even though she thinks it was me, but we looked at this house and purchased this house. And there was a lot of things. Like my mother was looking for a condo, we were looking for a house, and we said, okay, 2-family house. We wanted something that can accommodate everything. I don't really know. My wife never said, I don't want your mother living next door to me. I don't really know, or in-law. I don't really know if that's true or not. She never said anything. But I felt it a little bit. And I believe my mother felt that as well. But you go look at the house. She said, "What do I want?" So what I wanted was, I wanted a master bedroom. She wanted a master bedroom. We wanted a nice large kitchen. We wanted bedrooms for the kids with another bathroom. So basically, we wanted 2 bathrooms, 2 full bathrooms minimum. Privacy, our room, privacy, not like right next to the room. We wanted a 2-car garage, a little bit of land, wanted all these things, and we compromised, and we came to agreement. And I think we found the perfect house for what we compromised on. Perfect. We did that part well, but then we had some issues with like the closing, and then the house was in my name only, and so there's other things that cause conflict within the house. But as far as how we approached getting the house, it was very well done. And we both, I think, agreed that we loved this house. Some other houses that she liked more than me and I like more than her, but this house, I think, was the best fit for us, and we did a good job at that. So I'm going to have to give us thumbs up on that one. We did do our due diligence on that. So I think that when people give up independence, they think they're giving up their strength, but you're not. You're choosing to become closer together with one another. You're choosing us over me. And I believe when you start to choose us over me, that's how love grows. It really does. And my lack of giving up me for us caused a lot of negativity in our relationship because I wasn't willing to give up a lot, including the most important thing, lust. And that stems from independence and being able to, like, no one's going to get mad at a single guy that tries to talk to any women. No one's going to get mad at a single guy that texts other women. No one's gonna get mad if he's talking to his ex-girlfriend if he's single. Like, none of these things matter. But once you get into a relationship with somebody, all those things must cease, even if they're not disrespectful. Because all it takes is one little flirty comment to make everything look a mess. And sometimes it's not. Like, I had a situation where something happened in the past, and that past was thrown into, like, tried to be thrown into the time zone of our relationship when it wasn't. It really put a thorn, like I said, put a thorn in our relationship. And it really was kind of like the independence. But the truth of that whole, it was a situation and where, like, I was not talking to someone or texting someone during the time we were dating. It was before. And when it came up, the trust and my independent ways was like, oh, basically it wasn't believed. And it hurt me because and I'm keeping like the kind of story low, so you probably understand it. When the person found out that I was getting married to my wife, they text me and they said that my wife wasn't the one, et cetera, et cetera. And I blocked them like after that. And that was the last time I had talked to them. But even before that, it was months because I had blocked them prior to, because I was trying to date someone and I didn't want them to be a disruption before my wife. So yeah, gotta get rid of that independence, man. I mean, although the independence is because I'm almost done with this episode right now, is one of the shorter shows. You really need, and it's only short because I'm trying to condense the shows to like 40 minutes to an hour and not go over an hour because I've been noticing that I've been talking too much. But it's one of the shorter shows, but is very important. I really believe that people should start practicing their independence, practicing their dependence by dating themselves. And when I say by dating themselves, by, like, once you want to get in a relationship, I don't think it's appropriate to, like, some of the things that you're gonna have to stop, you should stop before you get into a relationship. And the only one that's gonna be hard is this factor, is that you shouldn't suffer alone, and that's a part of being dependent on somebody. You shouldn't be suffering alone. And during my relationship, I suffered alone because I refused to talk to my partner about how I was feeling about a lot of issues, like really talk to him. And there's talking, like where you say stuff, and then there's intentional talking. Like, I already have something that I'm doing in my next relationship, like guaranteed. Like, I'm gonna call it an hour. I'm gonna call it power hour. I just made that name up. Power hour. And power hour is gonna be powerful because power hour is me and my partner sitting on the couch, no TV, no phone, no music, just me and them talking to each other once a week. Power hour. And it could go power 3 hours. It could go, depending on where you're at. It could go power 5 minutes, right? Depending on where you're at. And really what it is an opportunity to check in weekly, to really check in and dive into what is going on. There would be weeks. Like, I remember something was bothering me in my last relationship. Basically, from the time we moved into this house almost until the time we separated. And I never got to really, really address it because we were independent. And so power hour is, especially when you have something important to say to somebody you love, you don't say it in passing. You don't say it in anger. You don't bring it up at an ill time. You make it a point to say, hey, baby, when we have power hour, I really want to talk about something, right? And then when you talk about it, you got to grab their hand, hold them, look in their eyes and tell them how you feel. That carries weight. I didn't do that in my relationship once, I don't think. I wanted to. It was a whole bunch of times. But pride and ego gets you all the time. And I think I did it in the beginning of the relationship, maybe a couple of times. Power hour. Write that one down. That's gonna power hour once a week. No cell phones, no music, no TV. Just you and your significant other, face to face, in close proximity to each other. And it's okay to cry with your partner. People should spend once a week crying with each other anyway. I had such a rough week, and let your wife lay on you and cry, and vice versa. And I have this thing where I cried once in a relationship, and then it was used against me, so I refused to cry in front of a woman, and I have to learn to, because sometimes I do feel like crying, right? Because I'm not being heard, I'm not being understood, I don't feel appreciated, and the only way I know how to express it is through like anger and a way that the person I'm with wouldn't receive it the right way, and then they're gonna retaliate back, and then we're in something that they on something they call the crazy cycle. If you ever read the book Love and Respect, or watch any of the videos on Love and Respect, in relationships where you're just going back and forth, and you're saying what you mean and they're saying what you mean, but you're not understanding what they mean and they're not understanding what you mean, because you're just on different languages. You're saying the same thing. What you're saying you think they should understand, and vice versa, but it's not. And that's called the crazy cycle. And I know me and my wife, we was in the crazy cycle, because she was telling me stuff, and now I know exactly what she was saying. Now I do. It's too late. And I don't know if she ever gonna understand what the things that I was trying to say through different ways. So all we have left now is the N and the G. Neglect, can't be neglectful. And guilt. Guilt might be a long show, because guilt is poof. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. Make sure you pass this on to somebody if you think it adds value and you think it's worth passing on, because this podcast, Shades of Man, is all about trying to help the world. And I'm going to leave with this saying. One of my biggest things, and I've been saying this since I've been trying to practice celibacy, is that if we all practice celibacy, all of us, there will be less kids created from a sexual experience, which means there will be more kids created from love, or at least a lot of adoration, at least I like you. And kids and children will have a better chance at having a healthy environment to grow up in, instead of a sexual induced child. And we all know how that ends up as far as the parents. So this has been another episode of the Shades of a Man podcast. See you next week with the letter N.
Sometimes it might rain, sometimes it might snow, sometimes you might cry, be sad, you know. But that's shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man. Shades of a man. Sometimes you might stop, sometimes you might go. You might make mistakes, but that's just how you grow. Shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man. Shades of a man.